Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the Odessa region. During the previous night, the Russians conducted several grand drone strikes all over the entire territory of Odessa region. Several oil depots were destroyed, several warehouses, ammo depots were destroyed as well. This is very important because if we increase the numbers of updates since the beginning of months, we're gonna see that there was a very big activity of the Russian forces exactly in this direction. For example, on the 4th of October, we got the video of how the Romanian soldier was filming the work of Ukraine air defense. The Ukrainians were trying to bring down Russian drones that were attacking Ukrainian facilities, warehouses and ships along the Dunabi River in the southwestern part of Odessa region. A little bit further in the eastern direction, we have another video from the city of Ismail, and in this video we can see the consequences of Russian drone attack. So what does it mean? We have 3 geolocations just since the beginning of the October months of 2024, and everything tells us that most likely the Ukrainians are preparing something. Now the Western countries and NATO countries start bringing additional weapon, additional problem missiles, additional munition exactly in the Odessa region with the use of ships. So something tells me that within the next few days the Ukrainians will try to attack Crimea, maybe the Crimean bridge, or maybe the Ukrainians received missiles that they're going to use deep inside the territory of Russia. The Russians obviously have additional reconnaissance operation, and they're trying to destroy as many as possible ships and cargoes that Ukrainians currently receiving. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction. The pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian sources are saying that the Russian armed forces are preparing new assaults in 2 directions of the Zaporozhye region. According to intelligence, the Russian armed forces are transferring personnel in the Orekhov and Rabotino directions and will probably intensify new assaults in the coming days. And in the event of a breakthrough, Russian troops will be able to take control over the logistics routes leading from Zaporozhye to the east of Ukraine, where the defense forces hold positions in the Donetsk and the southern part of Zaporozhye regions. So this is the situation. More and more sources are saying about big preparation of another big Russian offensive operation. You know, it's very difficult to make any conclusions because since the beginning of the special military operation, despite the fact that Ukrainians were completely defeated during the battle for Rabotino, they managed to improve their defense belt significantly. So it's very difficult to understand how exactly the Russians are going to go through this defense belt, and obviously the only way to finish the offensive operation successful is to know for sure what are you going to do, when are you going to do, and what kind of forces the Ukrainians are going to have in this or that directions. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Kurakhova area. We have additional updates. First, let's talk about Sukurina. Currently, there are very heavy clashes, and according to different mappers, reliable mappers, pro-Russian reliable mappers, currently the clashes are taking place in the most western part of the village by the name of Sukurina. We have additional changes on the ground, and currently the Russians have already seized control over 50% of the western part. The barracks and the hangars were taken by the Russians. So summarizing everything, the battle is about to be finished, and as soon as the battle for Sukurina finished, then the Russians will be able to move further in the completely Novoselidovka and Voznesenka. Let's talk about this icon to the west of Kurachovka. This is a very important icon. This is just a standalone icon, but this icon means a lot. Let's take a look at this video, and in this video we can see the work of Russian 238th artillery brigade or artillery regiment, and we see how the Russians were bombing some facilities and constructions to the west of Kurachovka. So just a regular video from this perspective, but if we start changing map updates, let's say for the previous few days, we're gonna see that since the beginning of the months there were a lot of icons, but most of the icons are of how the Russians were attacking the Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian logistic, with the use of FPV drones. So once again, again, since the beginning of October, we received significant number of geolocations of how the Russians were FPV droning the Ukrainians. But today, for the first time since the battle for Kurachovka-Gornyak agglomerations, the Russians began bombing and attacking the main supply roads with the use of artillery. This is very important because the Russians had possibilities to attack the Ukrainians just with the use of FPV drones. Now the Russians managed to change the configuration of artillery positions, and now the Russians took every single road that Ukrainians have in this direction under complete artillery control. This is very important. We are coming to the final stage of the battle for Kurachovo-Gornyak agglomeration. Now let's move further and let's discuss additional directions. As for the Toretsk area, we haven't received anything special, just regular activity. We have additional updates from this Kupiansk, either both from the southern Kupiansk and the northern Kupiansk directions. According to information we have, the Russians began offensive operation, full-scale offensive operation on the line between the villages Nevskaya, Novosadova, Terny, Yampolovka and Tarskoye. So very heavy clashes currently are taking place in this direction. Probably during the next 48 hours we will adjust the map in Russian favor. Now let's talk about the most important direction these days. We are talking about the northern Kupiansk direction, where the Russians managed to improve their positions to where the flower of Pishana continue blooming. We have additional geolocation. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and in this video we can see Ukrainian flamethrower drone that was burning out Russian positions along the tree line, this tree line. The tree line was immediately geolocated and the map was adjusted in Russian favor. Furthermore, we have additional changes on the ground according to reliable sources. In this, according to neutral mappers, the Russians during the previous 24 hours managed to improve their position significantly and to answer the village of Kolesnikovka and the village of Klushkovka. So let's improve their updates since the 4th of October, and starting of the 4th of October, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. Every single day they were taking additional fields, additional fortifications under control, trying to increase the square kilometers, trying to increase the length of the front line from the village of Glushkovka to the village of Kruglakovka. And currently the Russian positions are, the length of the Russian positions along the river of Oskol is around 7 kilometers, which is obviously significantly. The Ukrainians lost their logistic possibilities. The Ukrainians lost any possibilities to bring additional forces in this part, at least along the river of Oskol, and the Russian sources reported that they destroyed the railway bridge across the Pishana river, which provided logistic for Ukraine armed forces with Kupiansk. So this is a small river of Pishana, and this bridge was destroyed, and this bridge is under complete fire control. So it's just a matter of few days when the Russians will be able to take everything between the village of Kruglakovka and the village of Glushkovka under complete control. And after this update, after this progress, there's going to be a completely different situation in the northern Kupiansk direction. First, according to different military experts, the Russians will try to take under control the northern Kupiansk, and after that the Russians will turn their focus in the southern direction. Anyway, the situation for the Ukrainians is getting worse and worse every single day. Now let's talk about the Kursk direction. During the previous 24 hours we haven't received anything special, just regular activity. The activity of clashes was reduced completely till 0. We have additional photo of abandoned and destroyed and captured additional trophies by the armed forces of Russian Federation. According to information we have, these vehicles belong to 47th Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which most likely was redeployed to the Glushkova area with the purpose to support offensive, or maybe now we're talking about support of defense. Now let's talk about additional updates that we received from Kiev Western, not from Kiev. First, let's talk about NATO important updates. According to information we have, NATO wants extra 250,000 anti-Russia troops. The German outlet reports that US-led bloc wants to create additional 49 combat brigades of about 5,000 soldiers each, and this is very important because course, right after this report, we got additional piece of news from Ukraine, and according to information we have, Ukraine will be able to launch full-scale counter-offensive in 2025. This offensive will be with new equipment and new brigades, probably armored force. So Ukraine will also allow ATACMS and Storm Shadow to launch strikes on Russia. So try to connect these two pieces of news. And the third piece of news about the same story, I believe, is that according to information we have, Ukraine may involve the Republic of Belarus into the conflict. It is important to transfer the war not only on the territory of Russia but also to Belarus. I'm deeply confident that if small units of the Ukraine armed forces enter the territory of Belarus, the Belarusian army will lay down its arms. That was stated by the Ukrainian deputy. So there are talks about this, and something important can happen. Now let's talk a little bit about the Middle East. The sources reported that Israel is preparing the attack on the Iranian infrastructure within the next 48 hours. So somewhere by the 7th, including the 7th of October, Israel will attack the territory of Iran, and mainly they're going to attack the Iran energy facilities, including the nuclear facilities. Furthermore, Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, tried to find as much as possible support from different Western countries. He talks with Macron. He's in touch with the United States of America. Furthermore, the SATCOM commander, General Michael Kurilla, is expected to arrive in Israel within the next 24 hours. His visit is likely aimed to coordinate Israel's response to Iran. As for the response and as for the territory and objects that Israel is going to attack, once again, most likely the attacks is going to take place against the Iran oil facilities. For example, Iran has relocated its warship from Bandar Abbas naval base to safeguard them from potential attacks. Also, we have report that Iran has already removed the ships and removed everything they have from this island. This is the main island of where Iran is getting oil. As a measures against the possible Israel attack, Iran appears to have also moved its oil tankers away from Khark Island, a major hub for the country's oil production. So something big is going to happen, and as for the situation on the ground, we start receiving updates, and we have made small changes on the ground about additional progress of the Israeli forces on the territory of Lebanon. So these are small gains that the Israeli forces managed to achieve since the beginning of the Lebanon operation. Some of them are taking place in the vicinity of the cities of Avivim and Malkiya. Additional progress on the ground that was also, let's say, discovered with the additional geolocations and coordinations we have in the vicinity of the city of Misgavam, and a little bit further in the northern direction between the villages of Kafr Kila and Hora. So we see that the progress is not so big. The Israeli army is working very slowly, step by step, without making any risk, because in comparison with Gaza, this is completely different situation. This is the territory of completely different state, and Israeli forces are trying to be very careful. And that's it for this video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.